Hey, this is Cody and Amy, and we just kind of wanted to catch up with you guys and show you that boat days have been kind of few and far between this month. This is a typical day, only actually it's a little better. It's not raining and it is definitely warmer, but this is the best day we've had so far. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a guy out there that's doing some fishing, so he's dedicated to it, and we'll wish him some luck. And hopefully our days will get a little bit brighter. But in the meantime, Cody has been working on a big project that we have going on, and that is getting our standing rigging going. When we bought the boat, it was in poor shape, but we were looking for a cost-effective and safe way to remedy that, and Cody has, by golly, he's done it. So I'll leave it to him to explain it to you.
Okay, so we did a lot of research, as Amy said, in finding a solution, and we always, when we can, want to think outside the box, do things a little bit differently. And so we went, in replacing all the standing rigging on Next Horizon, we went with an old tech. Basically, this would what the standing rig, and we'll do a full video on all the standing rigging once we have it up, because I think it's pretty cool. And you'll be able to see all the things that we've done and how they all work together. Suffice it to say that it would have been, what we're doing to the boat would have been very conventional about 150 years ago, just using some more modern materials. We're going to be using dead eyes instead of turnbuckles, and that's exactly nothing new. I mean, people are doing that now with space age materials. But we took it a step further and did something even more weird, but more on that later. Right now, I wanted to show one component of the standing rigging is the Liverpool Splice.
Let me see if I can get
this is what we chose to do for our terminal fittings, and I wanted to show this now because this is where it's at its most visually exciting. When it's on the boat, you won't really have an idea of how it came into being. This would have been a common skill for basically any sailor before the mast. They could have turned a fitting and turned an eye into cable, which cable has been in use in tall ships for centuries, and it was galvanized mostly and tarred and served, but still there, and they had to know how to work with it. So, but it's kind of been lost to time. So we were able to teach ourselves through the wonders of the internet and YouTube, and in particular Brian Toss, the Rigger's Apprentice, and some of his videos. Amazing stuff. So real quick, let me give you an idea of why we're doing this. Whenever this is a conventional terminal fitting, and it's called a swaged fitting, and these are cheap. Well, they're cheaper. They're the least expensive of the common terminal fittings, and basically what it is you get the wire or rope and you stick it into this fitting, and there are all kinds of different ones. This one goes into a turnbuckle, and it gets fed into a crimping machine, a hydraulic crimping tool that squeezes this at insane pressures and basically cold welds the inside. There are a few problems with this. Number one, in order to get it right, it has to be done. It has to be done right. With the right tools by the guy who knows how to run the tools, which apparently is hard to find. And then once it's done, well, first you have to get them the exact proper measurements, which apparently almost no one ever does. So you wind up having to do it like 2 or 3 times, and that sounded like a nightmare to us. So one problem. Yeah, but the big problem is they're really kind of a poor design in that. When the boat is working and this cable is cycling, it doesn't allow for any movement. There's a hard spot right there, and it will work harden the steel and fail. And it'll just be sailing along, and poop, this thing pops out. Now, I mean, they're supposed to give you some warning. You can see these strands coming, but not always. And also, water can get inside if it's not just 100% perfectly sealed, and then fail on the inside and pop out. So, and then when it does fail, how do there's the methods for the options for repairing are basically none. You've got to I don't know, put on a rolling hitch and wait for the mail in Cuba or wherever you are. So anyway, this didn't seem like a good idea to us. And there are some other options. There are on the market a number of reusable terminal fittings, but they're really expensive. You know, we're talking in the order of 100, you know, like I don't know, $80 a piece, and there's 2 per stay. So, you know, $160 just for the terminal fittings. Never mind the turnbuckles or the toggles. I mean, you're talking, you know, $200 to $500 per stay, you know, depending. And that was a lot of money for us. I mean, we didn't want to drop $2,000 on the standing rigging. We wanted to find a better way. So what we wound up doing was buying a spool of wire rope and learning how to work with it. And what we've achieved is, here's one that's been finished, is this. Now this is not really beautiful. I mean, I'm an amateur, but I think I'm getting better. Anyway, if done properly, this should retain nearly 100% of the rope's strength, which is, you know, what you want. And we used stainless sailmaker's thimbles so that they won't collapse. And never mind this green stuff. This is just kind of got wound. You know, this will just fray off and go away. It's inside the cable. That's what it was. You know, when it was wrapped. But the beauty is that because it's on a thimble like this, it has a natural toggle effect. So there's no hard point for it to work harden. And even if there was, it's flexible. Ductile, is that the right word? Anyway, it's flexible. It's not going to work hard. And this can be done with $0 anywhere in the world with a couple of simple tools. Basically, the entire setup, including the vise and the and that tensioning strap, all fit in this bag. So we can fix this anywhere in the world with what's in this bag and in my head. That's pretty cool. So, basically it's at this point the investment's made and its repairs are virtually free. It's just a question of time. And for anybody who, for those of you who may be wandering across the video and are not, friends and family, and are trying to find information on, splicing, in particular the vise, this was something I had a hard time with in finding a vise. Vices to do this are, specialty tools and ridiculously expensive. So you're meant to, you're kind of left to cobble something together for yourself. So what we did is we took this, Harbor Freight.
Harbor Freight special.
And that was a Harbor Freight. They sell them everywhere. They're just a, cheap Chinese little vise, that you mount to a bench. And we cut a channel out of it. So that, and then we cut some reliefs. You might be able to see it right there to hold the cable. And we can splice anything from really small thimbles up to this really big one. I forget what the size is, but this is the limit of the vise. But man, for $20, and it works like a dream. And here's another tip for anybody that's interested: is I found myself losing track of everything, so I went and I got these little clips and I numbered them. And that was not something that was included in the video that we were learning from, but I found that to be a very good, helpful tip. Adaptation. So this is our Liverpool Splice, and you'll see it on the boat.
Can't wait to see it on the boat.